Riley. These are the Georgies, Sue and Steve. And first off, I want to thank the Georgies for allowing me to be the interviewer. And I also want to thank Stuart and Amy for allowing me to do this. It's really an honor, and I love it. I love doing the interviews. So I have questions, which I have to get up in my lap. And we're being recorded, so we want to remember to say hi to those guys. And Christy, I'm so glad you're in the front row. I love to have friends here. You're all our friends. So let's get started. Steve was complimenting me on my glasses. He likes them, and I need to put them on now. Hi, Father John. Good morning, sir. We're going to start out with this. I'm going to start out with Sue, though. Where did you grow up?
Born and raised in Michigan.
Michigan.
About right there.
Okay. What does that mean? The Lower Peninsula, the Upper Peninsula?
This is Michigan. This is Michigan. This is not the Upper Peninsula.
Okay. Okay, see, all right, I got it. Do you all understand what that means? Does anyone, oh, you do? Well, I have no idea what any of you are talking about.
Oh, it's okay. Like I said, born and raised in Michigan. My father was a shipbuilder, built ships for the Navy in Bay City, Michigan, but he was also a farmer. And when I was growing up, being a farmer's daughter was not my favorite thing to say, oh, I'm a farmer's daughter. But as I got older, I came to love being a farmer's daughter, working on the farm, enjoying the vegetables and enjoying the fruits of my family's labor. And that's it.
Brothers and sisters?
I have had one brother. He was 2 years older than I was. He passed away a couple years ago. Had spent 20 years in the Army. So we were never very close because when he turned 18, he left home, and so it was, hi, how are you, you know. But, and was married before. I have three adult children. One in Michigan, one in Indiana, and one in Florida.
Okay, you said Indiana?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. So they're spread out.
Indiana's
Well, have you considered tattoos?
actually, I had a tattoo, but it was one that just pressed on.
Uh-oh.
And it washed off
Oh,
quickly. And that's it.
Well, that's not much of a story then.
I know it's not. Go to Steve.
It is time to go to Steve. Where'd you grow up, Steve?
Born and raised in Los Angeles, California.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Which is like here, right?
In the city of Los Angeles. Los Angeles is 100 cities, but I was born in actually South Central LA, which you've heard of. Yeah, long time ago. Long ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
Back in the 1900s, I was born.
I'm pretty sure you and I are the same age or something like that, right? I was born in 45.
I was born in 45.
Yeah. Yeah. Steve and I sneak away once in a while and go to Dunkin' Donuts. That's his choice. I think it's a money thing.
We watch people and comment about them.
Yeah, we do. And then but we talk to each other.
We do? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That one time.
Well, that's great.
Do you want more than born and raised? I got more.
What?
Do you want more than just born and raised in
I have a
LA?
lot of questions
Okay,
here.
go.
You apparently don't remember, but
I'm-
we sent you the questions in
were
advance, so we're going to
sick.
move. We're going to move along.
You were sick.
So, the next question is apparently only for Sue because it's how did you get to California?
Ah, okay.
I know how he got there.
Okay, being a farmer's daughter, I was
Oh.
a sun worshiper. I used to drive the tractor with my bathing suit on and my leg back so the back of my legs could get tanned. So
The back
I-
of your legs?
the back, you know.
You drove
Anyway.
the tractor, okay,
Yep.
in the back of your legs.
And
yeah.
so I was always a sun worshiper, and when I started working at Dow Corning, on my desk I had a little plastic airplane pointed west.
Okay.
And then I worked for our marketing and sales training at Dow Corning and set up the classes and all the paperwork. And in this one class, this guy from California was there. And we kind of struck up a friendship, and I moved to California. And I moved to California. And- and-
what kind of friendship did you strike up with him?
Yeah. What my mother kept saying
It wasn't him, was it?
Yeah. My mother kept saying, my daughter moved to California and she's living in sin. So. The 40s are better than the 20s, I'll tell you.
It's interesting that you only have one microphone.
We were in a class, and she was helping out with the class, and one of the questions of the class was, what kind of person? You ask people questions, there's a name for it, and based on their answers, you determine what type of person that is. And there's probably 30 people in the classroom, and she was the guinea pig. She was sitting up there, and I was the first questioner. And my question to her, first off, was, where'd you get that tan? And she said, I'll tell you about that later. And the whole class went, oh. Yeah. So some of you have heard this story. But we struck up a relationship at that time, and then I went back to California. And she was going to come out to California to visit her cousin down in San Diego. And if she had time, she would visit me also. We saw him for about an hour and a half in San Diego, and the other 3 or 4 days we saw each other. Went into the office I was working the sales office. Sue knew just about everybody in the sales office because they had come from Michigan out here. So she knew everybody, and next thing you know, they're saying, we have a lady here that's going to be retiring. Would you like to have the job? And that's how she got to California. It did have something to do with me, but it was mainly the job.
Okay,
You didn't
I'm
follow any of that.
just going to accept that. So it was Dow Corning.
Dow Chemical and Corning Glass
Yeah, got it.
came together years and years ago and made stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I
Dow
know.
Corning made silicone. I was a salesman in the medical division, sold silicone material to companies that made breast implants, testicular implants, all different kinds, silicone tubing to companies that made catheters, pacemakers, all kinds of medical stuff. And Sue kind of ran the office. So.
Wow. Oh, I'm glad I got that cleared up. Well, I was going to ask, well, you answered great. And you answered all these questions.
I have 2 sons. One lives in Branson, Missouri. One lives in Laughlin, Nevada.
Man, you're just knocking these off.
Well, they're,
This is great.
my
I just could put this on remote control. This is wonderful.
my oldest works for BNSF. He's a train conductor, and like Matt.
Doug.
Doug, yeah, like Doug. Yeah,
Wow. Is Doug here?
they don't know each other yet. They go to some of the same places. And, yeah.
Well, I wish he was here. He was. He was
He-
working hard this morning.
Yeah,
But they know each other. Okay.
they don't know each other, but he knows that they both work.
Okay, well, I've lost control. So this is great. So, what year, I want to know. So, this wasn't, oh my goodness. What year did you meet at Dow Corning in Michigan in the training school?
1984, June.
84. Okay. And when did you take the job in California?
October of 1984, the end of October.
That was quick.
It was.
And this thing about this woman was going to retire and you took the job and that was the real reason you stayed.
Absolutely.
Sounds absolutely
Absolutely
nothing
false.
nothing to do with this tall, handsome, always well attired gentleman.
50-50, maybe?
Yeah, okay. You all buying this? Really? Thank you, Diane. Okay.
Love you, Diane.
We all love Diane. Okay, so you got married.
We got married.
We got married in March of 1989.
5 years. It took 5
You
years.
just had to make sure of these things, you know. You just can't jump into them.
What? Take the microphone.
And that's actually true because we
What do you mean it's actually true? Are all these things not
we
true?
did take our time, and we did fall in love, and we did understand that we were going to be married, and that happened over 5 years.
Yeah.
So yes, we did live in sin, but you know we that developed. The very first class meeting thing, she was extremely pretty, she was extremely funny, she was extremely good-hearted. She's still pretty, she's still funny, and she's still good-hearted. And I love her.
No, I agree with all of that. I agree with all of that, I said. What is it that you can't hear me? I'm on a microphone even. Crazy. Was there a marriage proposal?
So,
I think we have two versions of this. 'Cause we
Oh,
talked.
good. We want to hear both of them.
We talked about this when we first got your questions.
Yes, ma'am.
He was given an honor of being invited to the President's Sales Club.
Uh-huh.
And it was going to be down in Captiva, Florida. We were not married.
Yeah.
And I said, are you going to go by yourself? Because you could not go with a significant other at that time.
Oh, between 84 and 89,
Yeah.
that didn't work with Dow Corning.
And I said, you know, maybe if I had a ring, you know, maybe I could go with you. He remembers something differently.
Well, give him the microphone, and we'll let the
Not-
audience decide.
not really differently. We had that conversation happened.
Oh.
Then we went out to dinner one evening, and we were sitting, and the guy was playing piano and stuff, and we looked at each other. And I said, I think we really ought to get married. You want to get married soon? And she said yes, and we did. And that's the truth.
Well, both things are the truth then.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. I like that.
So it wasn't.
Patty said, the love of my life, Patty Kiley just said, you really roll your eyes well, Sue.
Not as good as Brenda Whitaker, but I'm trying to do better.
Not as good as Brenda Whitaker. Well, I hope she watches this as it is a recording. So we got how you met, got about your families, lots of kids, different places, maps on arms. Why Las Cruces, New Mexico?
I'll start. He can finish.
Okay.
For those of you who are maybe in your late 60s, 70s, don't wait to retire. I waited until I was 42 to retire.
42?
Oh, I'm sorry, 72. Thanks, Betty. So I retired at 70.
Okay.
Well, 42 made a good story too, didn't it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we decided that, we wanted to get out of California. And I did not want to go anywhere where there was snow and ice. Coming from Michigan, I did not want to go back that way. We checked out Henderson, Nevada. We checked out Colorado Springs. We checked out North Carolina because at that time my son lived there and his wife was a real estate agent. And then we decided, well, maybe we'll try Tucson. And I said, okay, let's go to Tucson. So we came to Tucson, hot, like 110 during the day. Yeah. And he said, well, let's drive over to Las Cruces. And I said, what's Las Cruces? Truth or Consequences I knew, Albuquerque I knew, but Las Cruces I did not know. So we drove from Tucson to Las Cruces, and
we came into town before before we could check into the hotel. And it was like noon or whatever. And, well, what do we do? Well, we'll get lost driving around town. And we drove downtown, down Main, and that was when it was a lot of one-ways. So we've been here 5 years plus. She said, turn here. I turned, and right down to Water and whatever street, Hadley, was the Convention and Visitor Center, little building there. We figured that's a good place to go. We wandered in and talked to this lady for probably an hour. When we laughed and giggled and had good information and stuff. And she just was a delight. And we told her why we were there. We were looking to find a realtor. We didn't have a realtor. She handed us a piece of paper with a number on it, says I'm not supposed to do that, but give her a call. And we did. Back up. I said, what we'd really like to do right now would be go somewhere, sit down, have some iced tea, look through some of the literature, and go right across the street to Zaffiro's. They make bread every day, and it's good. And so we sat at Zaffiro's outside and just did that. Talked to the real estate lady. She called back. We spent the next 2 days with her, a good Christian woman, took us all over the place, and then we left the next day. And as we drove out of town, I said, what do you think? And she says, I could live here. Now, that's most of the story. The big part of the story is for probably a year, we had felt a hand on our back. Felt it. To go here, go here, go here. And we felt the Holy Spirit in our journey to Las Cruces. So why did we move to Las Cruces? Lots of reasons. But we were led to Las Cruces, and that's why we're here.
Steve, do you remember the first question I ever asked you?
I do not, and it's been driving me a little bit bonkers because, you know, you and I have been gifted, blessed with whatever, something inside of us that makes us want to have people laugh. And we do that all the time with each other and with all of our interactions with people. We're just that way.
Yeah.
I don't remember what you asked me.
When apparently it was about 5 years ago, you started coming to Morningstar, and around where Eileen is sitting right now, you and Sue were sitting, and Stuart used to no, he wasn't asleep, and he used to wear bow ties, and you wear bow ties, and he used to engage you in conversations quite frequently, and you would laugh. And I was one morning sitting around where my wife is sitting, where Patty is sitting, and before the service started, and you were laughing, and Stuart left, and I came up to you, and never spoken to you or Sue before in my life, and I walked up to you and I said, "Are you Stuart's younger brother?" That was the first question I ever asked you. And Sue laughed hysterically, and I said, "I like these people." Anybody that laughs at anything I say, I immediately embrace them. So, why did you stay at Morningstar? What do you love about Morningstar? Because you love it, I know.
We got here because we were driving down the street. We just live, a mile away, and drove by, and there's a Methodist church. The Methodist church story is one in itself. When she moved out from Michigan, I was not a church person at the time. She moved out from Michigan, and her church in Michigan tracked her down and kept sending information. We visited a church in Irvine, and then the guy, one of the co-pastors there, kept tracking us down, and we went to join a church in Irvine. Well, drove by here, well, there's a Methodist church, let's go there. And we walked in the door and stayed and love it.
Why do you love it?
It's a good question, and I don't have a great answer other than the fact that it's kind of like when I met Steve. I kind of knew he was the one. Mm-hmm. And we had gone to the big church downtown when we were here visiting, and it was fine. The people were wonderful. The church was beautiful. But when we came in here, the greeting center was all tore up. The office area was all tore up. I mean, I don't even know if there was carpet on the floor. Yeah. But we did not notice that. Jackie Maxson lives in our community, and we had been to a Friday night gathering, and I said, well, we're going to the Morningstar Church Sunday, and she said, well, that's my church. Yeah. So she immediately started introducing us to everybody that she could catch their eye. And everybody was wonderful, loving, caring, and you just had this warm feeling that this was someplace that we wanted to be, and this is someplace that we wanted to work with and to help with and to be a part of.
Yeah. It was more in your heart than in your brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're both retired, and you're pretty active. Would you tell us about the ways that you serve here and why it's important to you, please? How do you serve here?
I've been gifted with the talent of fixing bicycles. Some of you already know that, and I've been doing it for 40 years or so. And people throw away bikes, and they are cruddy, and I get them and refurbish them. And some of them go to Jardín de los Niños, some of them go to a friend of mine who's got a nonprofit, Bikes for veterans. But I've been doing that for 5 years that I've been here. I look at that as a ministry. I don't talk about God and Jesus during bike fixings, but that's part of what I feel I can give. I had an interesting thing. We went to Ruby's the other night for barbecue, and there's a big guy, younger guy, had the door open, shorts, t-shirt, probably in his 40s, and another fella. He was holding the door open. And I said, thanks. That's my job. We're supposed to. No, come on in. Come on in. And I stopped him, and I said this 100 times. I said, you know, your mom and dad taught you to do this, right? Just like my mom and dad and her. And he said, yeah, that's right. And I said, my mom and dad are still watching me. And he laughed. Then we went in and sat down and ate. And as they left, he came over to our table and he said, just good to meet you. God bless you. And I said, God bless you too. Thank you. And left. So the idea of ministry is just being in the community. Just being what's inside of you. Sue made a comment about people cared about us as we came in here. What this church has done for us is to tweak that we want to care for others reaction. This is a good place for us to love people, not just to be loved, but this is a great place for us to love back. I don't know whether that makes sense. It does to me.
Makes sense to me. How about you?
What was the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just put the questions away. What do you so?
I know. I got it.
We all know.
From the time I was a little girl, I wanted to be a secretary.
Really?
I loved doing the secretary part, the filing, all the paperwork stuff.
Farmer's daughter wanted to be a secretary.
I know.
Yeah.
That was after we thrashed beans, though.
Ah.
Not black-eyed peas, but navy beans. Anyway, a note had gone out, or a questionnaire had gone out, how would you like to help with the church? And I put down volunteer in the church office. And so I started doing that, and then after the pandemic, when the office opened back up, I told Kathy, I'll do it Tuesday and Wednesday. One, it gets me out of the house, and secondly, you get to know names and people and the connection with the community and what is going on, and I found that just coming to church does not give everybody the full view of what Morning Star does. But working in the office gave me a lot of information as to what goes on behind the scenes. The Connect cards was kind of my baby. I kind of liked getting all that information, putting the information into the system, making sure that people knew, and especially now Amy, letting her know who's visiting. But people are not as good of putting all their information down. I am now the volunteer, I have a title.
Office coordinator.
Volunteer is the key word.
Yeah.
When you don't get paid for something at my age, that means it's really important to do it and to do it well. So I urge everyone, when you sign in, if you've got an address change, telephone change, or if somebody that you're next to signs in and they don't put information down, kind of encourage them to do that. Pastor Amy is excellent at welcoming people and getting in contact with people and keeping in touch.
Yeah.
So, as the volunteer czar,
Bizarre it is now.
I appreciate all of you for doing your part and greeting new people and getting them to sign in with information. Ta-da!
Ta-da. Well, I know that each of you does more than what you just said. And I think it was lovely of you. I'm sorry that's on your ankle, that wire. I know that each of you does more than what you just said. And I think it was wonderful of each of you to share all that you did in parables this morning, because parables is wonderful because we all learn more about you through this than we do in our little 45-second interactions out there by the coffee bar or whatever. And thank you so much for your time today. All right, there you go.